My name is Nathan Regan, and I'm the Senior Vice President of Economic Development at Invest Atlanta. Invest Atlanta is Atlanta's economic development agency, and we invest in the people, communities, and companies here in the city. During the COVID crisis, we've been developing relief efforts that will help our business community sustain operations during this difficult time. Please check our website, www.investatlanta.com/COVID-19-resources for additional information and up-to-date programs and funding sources. As you all know, Invest Atlanta has been working hard to keep the business community informed during the COVID crisis. Traditionally, our business retention and expansion efforts are highly personal. We meet with businesses, we tour their spaces, and we have one-on-one conversations with them about what they need to grow their business in the city. During this crisis, we're no longer able to facilitate our efforts in this way, but we still need to keep our community informed and thriving. As we're all practicing social distancing, my team has been brainstorming how to best meet the needs of our community during this time. So during this series that we're calling the Small Business Tech Tuesday, we're highlighting Atlanta businesses who are adapting to the new normal. We want to create a strong, interconnected community that helps foster the One Atlanta spirit and forges a new path ahead during this crisis and during our recovery. The guest we have today is no stranger to the Atlanta community. Jared is the founder of eastpole.coffee. They're located in the Armour Yards district, and eastpole is a wholesale coffee roaster which offers a selection of single origin coffee, including the aptly named Traffic, paying homage to Atlanta's gridlock. Jared oversees the company's green buying, roasting, and retail operations. Before launching eastpole, Jared worked at Kirkwood's Taproom Coffee and Beer, as well as Rev Coffee in Smyrna. And I just can't tell you how excited we are to have Jared on the call today. Their story is the entrepreneurial dream, right? They've started their coffee roasting business. They have 11 employees. They're paying middle wage jobs and helping people actually grow in their salary and their positions. So we're very excited to have them tell their story today about how they've got to this place, how they're going to be pivoting to the new normal. And so I think you'll find it an inspirational story. This live conversation will be in a conversation format. Jared will be chatting with our Assistant Director of Business Retention and Expansion, Sabrina Young-Wright. If you have any questions or comments for Jared, feel free to drop them in the chat, and we'll leave some time at the end for you to answer those. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Sabrina and Jared, and I hope you'll find this conversation inspirational this morning. Thanks so much. Jared, good morning.
Good morning. How's it going?
Good morning.
Good. I think we're waiting for Sabrina to come on, so I'll just give a quick intro. I'm sitting in Eastpole right now. It looks a little bit different these days, obviously. Behind me, you can see it is a roast day. So we're operating as normally as we can, roasting coffee for fellow Atlantans and businesses and people beyond Georgia, which is exciting. A little bit about myself and Eastpole. We, like all good companies, started in a garage on a pretty small roaster. And that was in about 2015. And we were hustling to get accounts. Like Nathan said, we were a wholesale first account, which means we wanted to service and maintain wholesale accounts across Atlanta. And so we were doing what we could to kind of grow our company, to win accounts as best we could, and did that for about a year until we were reached out by a really cool developer here in Atlanta, in a new part of a developing part of town called Armour Yards. And we opened our brick and mortar here in 2017 with a roastery that you can see behind me and the coffee bar built in so that you can experience, if you're a customer coming in here, you can experience the whole gamut of what we do here at Eastpole. And we kind of treated it as a craft brewery craft brewery treats a tasting room, right? So a customer could come into our doors and look beyond this glass partition here and see people working. And this right here is our roaster. You can see what's going on: green coffee being loaded in, roasted coffee coming out, and then a coffee being handed over to you as a customer. And we felt like that was a cool experience, and we wanted to have a shop that that was a stage for us to perform on and show what we were capable of doing. And we have been operating like that since September of 2017. And we are here today, still around. So, so yeah, that's a little bit about East Pole, a little bit about myself. Welcome back, Nathan.
Hey, hey, thanks for that overview. And I think Sabrina's having a few technical issues joining us
Okay.
this morning. So, look, I think
Cool.
your story is inspirational that you guys have started from the ground up. So, kudos to you for having 11 employees. I know you guys are very conscious about allowing people to have catastrophe pay to get through this crisis. Tell me a little bit about what you guys see kind of in this new normal at the moment, and then what you see after. I mean, technology is changing how we interact. You guys are a brick and mortar, so, and yesterday during our initial talk, I was like, I need to order some coffee, send that to me because I'm in need. But tell me a little bit about what you guys see during the crisis and maybe in the recovery efforts. How's your
Sure.
business shifting?
Yeah. I mean, it's certainly shifted quite a bit. I'm sitting in our cafe right now, which would normally be on any given day packed, and there's all the tables are or the chairs are flipped on top of the tables, and it's kind of a eerie look. And the only action is going on behind me with the roasting team, and that's something I never really envisioned happening. When you open up a restaurant or a coffee shop or something like that, you want people inside of your doors hanging out. And so we've seen a big shift. I think our numbers wise, our sales in the coffee bar and in wholesale are down about 50 to 60%. Um, and so you see those numbers and it's a little bit like, okay, this is jarring a bit. So we've got to learn how to adapt. Um, and early on, as early as we probably could, we started doing a few things like order ahead. We went to go only fairly early on, and did order ahead, and then eventually did curbside pickup, and then really pushed our subscription. We have three subscriptions now. One we call Scuba Club, one we call Yacht Club, so that you can say you're a part of a yacht club without actually having to be a part of one. And then for this just shipwreck of a time we're in, we have one called Titanic Club, which is just coffee every week. And so we've really been pushing those subscriptions. We've really been pushing online sales. Nathan, you're in Maryland right now. We can ship coffee to you. And we've seen a huge uptick in e-commerce, which has been really great. And so that's helped offset quite a bit of our costs here or sales lost elsewhere.
So that's helpful. So I mean, like, businesses are having to pivot right now, right? I mean, you're talking about e-commerce, curbside pickup. So, investing in your website, investing in e-commerce, reaching out to your customers and finding them in their home is where you need to do that, right? And
Right.
that's all very helpful for all of our small businesses who are listening today. So many of our small businesses in the city of Atlanta are small and brick and mortar, and having to pivot at this moment. So hearing your story, I think, could be very helpful to those who are listening. Um, and we'll come back to that in a moment. So I'm also have been very moved by what you guys are doing in the relief effort. I mean, your philanthropic work. I would love for you to touch on kind of your Piedmont Heroes, touch on the Giving Kitchen. I mean, I think when we invest, as Invest Atlanta, when we invest in people and companies, and then those companies invest and give back, this is the type of city and community we want to create. So why don't you tell us a little bit about what you guys are doing to help support relief efforts?
Sure. Yeah, so we are a part of the service industry. We have a huge value for our staff here at East Pole, and we can jump into that, I guess, a little bit later. But because of that, it made us conscious of other industry folks who are severely impacted by this. And we're a coffee roastery. We don't have much to offer, but we do have coffee to offer. And our first thought was to pair with a nonprofit called the Giving Kitchen. They are a really incredible company, provides relief to industry workers, and we wanted to partner with them. And pretty quickly adapted a donation box on our website so that people could give when they're buying a bag of coffee. And we've had over about 130 people give to that e-commerce, and in addition to that, they partner with Staple House, which is one of the best restaurants in America. And Staple House is doing a soup kitchen sort of thing for industry workers who have been laid off. And they've rallied with a bunch of other restaurants and businesses to kind of provide for those things. Like if they had produce that they weren't going to use, they could donate it to Staple House, who would give it to industry workers. And so we have coffee again, and people need coffee right now. And so we have been giving coffee to them and just fueling the industry that we love. The service industry needs help, and we want to help as best as we can, whether that's financially with the online donations or just practically with coffee. We're happy to partner with people like the Giving Kitchen. And then Piedmont Hospital is a large hospital right near us. I personally have several friends that work in the ICU there that are frontline of COVID-19 patients, dealing with them on a daily basis. And another thing is like, hey, they're working around the clock. Like, what can we do to get them coffee? So it's a funny time because we're just like, hey, Piedmont, do you want coffee? And we just started giving them a lot of coffee just to brew on their break room brewers. That was the start of it. And then we were introduced to someone who runs an Instagram handle called Piedmont Heroes. And they have been rallying with some businesses in Atlanta as well to kind of provide for the nursing staff or whatever, the PAs, all the doctors that are in Piedmont. And so I think the big bright spot here is that the customer base that we have here in Atlanta has just really rallied around like, hey, let's buy a bag of coffee for the Piedmont staff. And to date, we've done, we launched this last week, and I think we're sitting at around 80 bags of coffee, maybe even more than that. I haven't looked at the numbers today, but we're talking about 80 retail bags of coffee to Piedmont workers that can take it home and brew it at home when they're working an insane amount of hours this week and the past week. And that doesn't seem to be dropping off anytime soon. So
Yeah.
those are just easy ways that we could adapt and help people who need it. And again, it's coffee, but it's what we have available. So we wanted to help as best we can.
Well, look, I mean, this is exactly what a community does, right? I mean, you guys have coffee, you donate coffee. If someone is making donuts, and they donate the donuts, then
Right.
we have a whole ecosystem that is giving, and we need each other during this time. So, what each one of us is doing, we have to do that and give. And so I'm really great. It's just so great to hear stories of people like East Pole who are giving back. And something that we hear so much of right now in Invest Atlanta is stories about businesses with employees who are trying to figure out how to keep employees on, how to keep them employed. We at Invest Atlanta launched a business continuity loan fund that was open for about 2 weeks. We had a special allocation from the mayor's office to make loans to small businesses to keep them afloat. And so I think you guys have applied for one of those. And so we certainly want to make sure that during this time, small businesses with employees can figure out ways to keep those employees on. So I think you guys are doing great. I saw a guy in the background pouring coffee beans into the
Exactly.
roaster there. So it's good to see that people are working. And what really struck me about your story was how you guys are so focused on your employees. So I'd love for you to talk a little bit about, like, you know, you have a couple, I won't steal your thunder, but you have a couple of great things like catastrophe pay, and you're giving people PTO and trying to keep people business continuity going. So why don't you talk a little bit about what you guys are doing there?
Sure. Yeah, I think that goes back to I have two other business partners, Jules Tompkins and Matt Chesla, and I think it goes back just to our value for having our staff here and not losing our staff. Um, March, roughly like March 15th, we sat down and met and we're like, okay, hey, this thing is for real and it's
Mhm.
going to affect us. And so what are our non-negotiables here? And up at the top of that list was we're going to take care of our staff, and they're not as best as we can until as best as we can. We're not going to let them feel the sting of what's happening here, and also at the same time, providing them with the opportunity to stay out if they want to stay out. And what I mean is we haven't cut our hours. We didn't want to cut hours and reduce someone's pay. We haven't cut staff, but we have given people the opportunity to kind of, if they want to take time off, they still have a job here, but they don't have to come in and clock in, and they can wait it out and see. One thing we saw pretty early on was the amount of people coming through the doors, right? It's obviously gone down a good bit. And what that means for our staff is that tips have gone down. And it's actually pretty cool to see that while the numbers of people have gone down, the amount of people tipping has gone up. And really it's really cool to see. You'll see, I see all the numbers that come through, all the orders that come through, and you'll see someone get a $5 latte and leave a $20 tip.
Wow.
And that's just the customer base that
Wow.
we have here. They're really incredible. But that being said, with the amount of or the fewer people coming in, the result is tips are down. So their weekly tips are down. And we decided as an ownership group that we would cover that tip gap from our own pay, just to make sure that, again, they're not going to feel the sting of what is happening here. And so yeah, we have done that early on, and we're still here and still going. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So, at Invest Atlanta, we are continually thinking about, we have to stay two steps ahead of whatever's happening in the economy, right? So, when we saw the COVID crisis coming, we jumped into action with our business continuity loan fund. And so now we're talking about, what do we do on the recovery, right? So once we're over this thing, and we certainly have more time to go through the COVID crisis, where don't think we're anywhere close to being through it. But once we are through it, we're going to think about recovery, right? So, I think all small businesses could probably benefit from hearing kind of your thoughts, and you've been really gracious to share with us exactly what you guys are doing in this crisis time, which I think is helpful. Kind of how you got started. And so as we at Invest Atlanta look towards the future, we'd love to, if you have some thoughts on what a post recovery looks like, recovery efforts, what is going to be the new normal, right? I mean, we discuss this every day during our team briefings, like, 6 months out, 12 months out, 18 months out, what do we look like, right? And so I'd love to hear your thoughts. If you guys have had any conversations in house about any sort of short term and long term planning, right? I mean, is the new normal now that, curbside pickup and online ordering and people being gracious with leaving additional tips is going to get us through? I mean, is there some sort of inspirational message that I think we can leave small businesses with about we're going to be okay. We're going to do this together, and we're going to get through this together. And we're an example of that, right? So I don't know if you guys have had any internal conversations, but if you had, that'd be great.
Sure. Yeah, I think that the fear behind all this, right, is just the unknown, and that can that can definitely that can definitely cause a lot of fear because you don't know when this is going to end. You don't know
Mm-hmm.
what's going to happen. If we had to take guesses, yeah, we have guesses. You know, I'm sure that cafe seating is going to look a little bit different. Restaurant seating might look a little bit different for now, and those may be spread out a bit. And I think we definitely will see an impact from this in terms of how we operate. But I would say that the bright side to this is just to pay attention to what's going on and adapt ahead of time, right? If you're smart and can plan ahead and react to things that are going on, then I think when things come back around, whether they look a little bit different or not, you're able to adapt again, and respond to what's going on. I mean, the hope is people want to get out of their homes. You know, everybody's learning what it's like to be homeschool parents right now. You know,
Yep.
and you're seeing the inside of your house more than you've ever seen it. And so my hope is that people want to get out and see the inside of East Pole again. But I don't know. I mean, yeah, curbside pickup could be something that just sticks around for a while, maybe indefinitely. Um, and you know what? If that's what happens, then
And
that's great.
sorry, excuse me 1 second. Sorry about that.
Oh, you're good.
Sorry about that. These are the challenges with doing live technology in the house and the phone's ringing, right? Well, that's helpful. I guess, maybe one other question. I think we have a few people who've chimed in with some questions, and, I think this is a good question. We certainly at Invest Atlanta are learning how to work remotely. We're all doing this, seeing the inside of our homes. And, technology is really pushing us forward, right? And so we are adopting two new technologies into our loan programs, for example, to help us do more and be better, right? And so I guess, if I'm a small business out there, I'd love to hear kind of your take on how important technology is. I went to your website yesterday. It's great, eastpole.coffee. And you might want to tell people how to find you. But certainly, I think that those type of technological advances that help us adapt to the new normal might be very interesting. So, can you explain a little bit maybe about how you guys have seen an uptick in technology through your website ordering, for example? I mean, do you see anything at all? I mean, share with us your thoughts on that.
Sure. Yeah, we've definitely, curbside pickup and to go order ahead ordering is, we've never done that before, ever. We've relied on customers coming in, hanging out. And so definitely adapting. Our POS system is Square. We felt that it was important to stick with one app that people were already using for our website for everything, and be able to use that to call ahead, to do curbside pickup, for us to run drinks out to people. We purchased another iPad that you could call us at, and we could respond and figure out what car you're driving, deliver your latte straight out to you. And that's an interesting element that we haven't done before. And I mean, yeah, website, e-commerce, like we touched on earlier, eastpole.coffee. If you go there, that has been monumental in keeping us alive. Just
Yeah.
the ease of someone being able to sit on their couch, crushing some Netflix and order some coffee to fuel them for the next morning. I mean, that's huge. And
Yeah.
I would even say, like, another fun little thing that we've done is, if you're in Atlanta, we do these things called order blitzes, which we call them that internally. I don't think we've ever published that it's called an order blitz, but
Well, it's published now.
it is now. Yeah, it is now. But me, Matt, and Jules, the three owners, will come in on a Saturday morning, collect all the orders, divide them up, and go deliver them. So,
Oh,
I
nice.
mean, it's an interesting thing that you have to kind of consider is with how many e-commerce orders we're getting, that's way more shipping now that we're paying that we were
Yeah.
not paying before. And so one easy way and kind of like fun way to deal with that is we three divide and conquer and deliver to Atlanta. Atlanta is a very big place. So it'll take us a while to do it, but it's fun. And I think things like that are important, like to adapt to and do.
Well, you're so right about that. And we actually had another question come in that I think really dovetails really nicely about this point that you've made. Obviously, your brand, and Atlanta. I was on a webinar last week with a group out of Canada, and we were talking about Atlanta and how important the brands are in Atlanta, right? So, you guys have a very recognizable brand. The question is kind of like, during this time, how are you continuing to build that? Is that through your website? Is that through your social media? I love this order blitzing delivery stuff where you do it personally. I mean, what a great touch. So and maybe we'll try and end up with this question or maybe one more, but what would you recommend to other small businesses who are listening, how to continue to build that brand so that during this time they can survive? And when we go to recovery, how they can have that brand that's built up during this time that people will come back to, right? So maybe talk a little bit about your brand.
Yeah, I would say that this is kind of a silly thing to say maybe, but I would say just be true to who you are as a brand. And I think people recognize when you're being genuine and when you're trying to, versus when you're trying to force a brand, right? I think, for us, all of us are from Atlanta. And so our brand is from Atlanta. And we care about that. We care about the businesses that are around us. We care about the city itself. We care about representing it well. And we wanted when people were passing through Atlanta. I mean, tons of people pass through Atlanta. Our airport is ginormous, and we wanted people to think, okay, coffee in Atlanta. Oh, eastpole is from Atlanta, and that's been from the beginning that we've been trying to. It took us a long time to hustle and build that, but where we are now is I think we do care about Atlanta, and that comes out in us trying our best to help people like the Giving Kitchen, trying our best to help Piedmont, seeing a need and filling that need as best as we can. And I guess I would just say like be genuine and be true to who you are, and I think people can recognize that and pick that out of a crowd.
Great. Well, listen, Jared, I want to be respectful of your time because I know you guys are roasting coffee there today. Thank you so much for spending time with us today. If you're listening with us, please go to eastpole.coffee to buy your next bag of coffee. And after COVID, maybe they'll deliver it to you. Maybe you'll get one of the Blitz deliverings.
Yeah.
And just be mindful that there are businesses in the city that are thriving during this time, and who are really making it. Let's continue to push through. We had one last question come in, and I'll just offer it quickly, lightning round here. But we did have someone ask if your supply chain has been affected.
Yeah, I would say it has. Coffee and especially roasteries are unique in that we rely on a rather large supply chain, all the way to farmers, to exporters, to importers, to roasters, to people we buy milk from, people we buy pastries from. I spoke with some of our importers recently that we're very close with, and they're definitely getting hit with this. I mean, the reality is we are not roasting as much coffee as we were before because more businesses are closing down, and therefore we cannot go through the coffee and just sit on that much inventory, and that affects the importer, it affects the exporter, and it affects the farmer. And the hope is that this doesn't last as long. Hopefully this isn't going on for a year or 2 years. That'd be hard to kind of wrap my head around.
Yeah,
But in the short term, I would say it is affecting the supply chain, but hopefully not in a way that's going to be devastating for people.
that's right.
So,
Awesome. Well, listen, thank you again, Jared, so much. Really appreciate your time this morning. And thanks for helping us kick off our Small Business Tuesday Talk. And wishing you and all of your partners at East Pole much success. Thank you so much. Have a good day.
thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
See ya.